Hi, I'm Cassie and welcome to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making takoyaki. That's often translated as octopus balls, which doesn't sound super appetizing, but tako means octopus and yaki means fried, so together it's just fried octopus. And basically it's just batter fried in a circular mold with a piece of octopus inside it. And when I say it like that, it doesn't sound super difficult, but I tried it a lot with the takoyaki packs and they just kept coming out as like half a circle instead of a full circle, or they take forever to fry. So just in so many ways they just kept failing. So I've finally figured out how to make them perfect. And there's actually a simple solution to making the perfect takoyaki, so I'll show you that today. People often put a lot of different things in takoyaki, like you can put kimchi and cheese, you can put just cheese, you can put sausage, you can put anything that you want in there. And you can even do dessert ones if you have a pancake mix or something. But today I'm just going to show you how to make the original octopus takoyaki. So let's take a look. So first we'll need the all-important octopus. We don't need too much, I've got about 300 grams here. Then we need about 120 grams of flour, about a tablespoon of baking powder, 2 eggs, a pinch of salt, a teaspoon of soy sauce, some Agedama or Tenkasu, some Benishoga, and then we'll need some Katsuobushi or dried bonito fish flakes. Then we'll want plenty of vegetable oil, some Japanese mayonnaise for topping, and some okonomiyaki sauce or takoyaki sauce for topping. So first we're going to start off by making our own dashi fish broth. This step is entirely optional, but it makes the takoyaki a much deeper golden color and gives it a bit of a deeper flavor too. To do this, we need to boil some water, and once it's boiled, put in about 2 handfuls of katsuobushi. Then let it simmer for about 3 minutes. When the 3 minutes is up, pour it through a sieve and you'll have a nice golden liquid. Or something that looks a little bit like pee. Wonderful. Then it's time to grab our octopus. After playing around with it a little bit, we need to boil this before we put it into our takoyaki. So once again, bring some water to a boil and put your octopus right in. Then make sure that the water is completely covering it. Then we're going to leave this on a simmer for about 2 to 3 minutes. Then let it cool down naturally. Don't be tempted to put this in ice water because then the meat will become much harder. You can often find takoyaki at matsuri, which is the Japanese word for festivals. There are so many festivals around Japan, like all the time. But you can also find them at chain restaurants around Tokyo. And now you can find them in your own home. Then measure out 120 grams of flour, and then we're going to add a pinch of salt and about a tablespoon of baking powder. I'm not too sure why I showed you these measurements in my hands, but now we're just going to whisk it all together until combined. Then grab your 2 eggs and crack them into a measuring cup. And then we're just going to give them a little whisk before we flip it straight into our flour mixture. We don't need to do anything special here, we just want to make sure that the eggs are whisked and ready to be combined with the flour. Then grab that dashi that we made, and we're going to add 500 milliliters to everything. This looks really messy, but it doesn't particularly matter, we're just going to whisk it all up. Then add your teaspoon of soy sauce. Then get your hand whisk and just whisk it all up until there are no big clumps of flour left. Because there's so much liquid in this, then you don't really need to worry about it being lumpy, though you might find that there are a few small specks of flour. Then we'll get our octopus that has cooled down to room temperature, and we're just going to cut it up into small bite-sized pieces. This piece is fairly thick, so I'm just cutting off slices and then cutting them in half. For me, this is the right size for a bit of a chewy center, but if you don't want that, then you can make them even smaller. Then we'll grab our Benishoga or fermented ginger. And because we're going to put this right into the takoyaki themselves, then we want to cut this up nice and small too. I've done a pretty rough chop here because I quite like the taste of Benishoga. In Japan, it's fairly common to have takoyaki parties where you invite a bunch of friends round and you all make takoyaki together. It's a lot easier to make takoyaki when you have more than one pair of hands, because one person can be pouring in the batter, one person can be putting everything in, one person can be turning them over, and it's just a lot easier. But today we're going to look at how to make it by yourself. Now for the fun part, grab your takoyaki pan, and if you don't have one, I've included a link in the description below, so you can go shopping for one. Then we're going to get our mix ready, and we're going to start pouring some oil into each one of these little holes. To make sure that they're completely coated, then I just pour some oil into one corner, and then I get a piece of kitchen roll, and I just use some chopsticks to keep going back and forth between each hole until they're all nice and coated. Now you can see that there's a little well of oil in each hole. Then I'm going to grab all the things that we want to put inside the takoyaki. You want to have these easily accessible so you can just sprinkle them all into the takoyaki. We want the pan to be steaming hot when we start putting in our mixture. So grab a ladle or something with an easy pour spout and just start liberally pouring the mixture all over the pan. It doesn't matter if there's some overflow, and in fact I would encourage some overflow so that we get a nice round shape later. Then start putting in all your fillings. With octopus of this size, then I put just one piece in each, and then I just start sprinkling over the Benishoga and Agedama. Wait about a minute and then completely cover your entire takoyaki pan with the rest of your mixture. Obviously make sure that it doesn't spill over the edges, but you want it to be nice and full so you can't even see the circular molds anymore. If you watch takoyaki being made at festival stalls, then this is how they do it. They put a second layer of takoyaki batter over the top. If you didn't know that, then hit that subscribe button because I've got a ton of these tips. This is the only way that I've found I can actually make the perfect spherical takoyaki. When I've just done one layer of batter before, then I don't know, it cooks too quickly, and then when I turn it over, then there's nothing to fill out the bottom and it just goes all wrong. So this is the only way that I've found that it works perfectly. I hope it works perfectly for you too. So now you'll have something that looks like a yellow sheet pan takoyaki, but we want to leave that for about 2 to 3 minutes before we start turning them over. Now to turn them over, we'll need something sharp and pointy like these takoyaki sticks. You can't use chopsticks for this, you need something sharp and pointy that will catch the edge so that you can flip them over. Then, as you can see, I'm just cutting down the lines of the pan so that it's easier to separate each takoyaki. Then we're going to try and flip the takoyaki. Put your skewer in and try to find the bottom of the takoyaki. Then catch your skewer onto that takoyaki and pull it up. If it's too liquidy, then you won't be able to pull up the takoyaki and you'll just start to make a mess. So try to do this when the bottom has set just a little bit. With these home takoyaki makers, then the middle is always a lot hotter than the outside because the heating element is right in the middle. So I always start by doing the very middle takoyaki first and then working my way out. You'll also find that the corner ones are the least hot. Then once you've done all of them, if you're doing this by yourself, then it's probably already time to start doing the middle ones again. Once you flip them twice, then they should start to look like this. There are still going to be a few bits sticking out, but they should have a nice golden colour. Then you want to flip them at least one more time, but maybe a few more, until they are all golden and crisp, and making sure to switch out some of the peripheral ones for the center ones. This will make sure that they all cook evenly. So because we made our own dashi, then the colour was a lot warmer and browner, and it just added another layer of flavour to it. However, the dashi is optional and you can just use water. It'll just turn out a little bit paler and have a slightly different flavour. Now it's time to plate these up. I think it's a tradition to eat takoyaki whilst they're still absolutely piping hot and they burn your mouth. So let's put these straight onto a plate and get decorating with our toppings. Takoyaki are often sold in batches of 6, so I've just done 6 again here. And now I'm going to get my okonomiyaki sauce and just put it on vertically and horizontally. Then I'm doing the same with the mayo, and I'm going to put a sprinkling of Katsuobushi or dried bonito flakes on as well. Here you could also put on some aonori seaweed if you want. It's kind of weirdly mesmerizing to watch the bonito flakes dance. Then we should have a beautiful set of takoyaki. Have you ever seen such a perfect homemade takoyaki? The outside is beautifully crisp and the inside is hot and gooey and delicious. That homemade dashi just added that extra depth of flavor to these. Now I know exactly what recipe to use next time I have a takoyaki party. If you're thinking of making this recipe, then hit the like button or subscribe to find out more Japanese recipes. But I'm gonna go and continue my takoyaki party. Bye!